When you moved out to Hollywood from New York, did you have a job lined up? Did you have friends that were able to help you get in the business?
No. I dragged my wife, Leanne, kicking and screaming to LA. And I went because I had, at that point, made the 4 horror movies up in Canada with John Fasano. And then I was fully bitten by the bug at that point. I mean, I knew I was going to keep doing this, whatever it was, whether it was acting or if it was, I discovered that I liked writing during the course of making those films. So now John, if you'll pardon the expression, John had brass balls because he just he wrote a script and he picked up and he went to LA and he sold a script, like 6 figures, right off the bat to Morgan Creek.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it was like, holy crap. Like, he did it. Like, he came out here and they never made that movie, by the way, but it did lead to him then writing another 48 Hours and what was the other? He wrote many drafts of Alien 3. He wrote a whole bunch of movies. So I thought, well, John did it. I can do it. And at the time, I was working in the South Tower of the World Trade Center.
Oh.
Yeah. And I quit that job and said, Leanne, I have to go. I have to go to LA. And she did not want to go, but she did. And we got out here, and our first place was this, renovated garage. It was just awful. And I had pictures, I had my headshots, and I had 2 scripts with me that I had written. And then when I got out here, I discovered how difficult it was to get somebody to read your scripts, and also to get a part. I mean, as an actor, that would have been true in New York as well, but I think even more so out here is that, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who all want that part. And, so there's a lot of rejection.
What year was this? Sorry to interrupt.
This was 1990.
1990, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So pre-AOL.
Oh, yeah.
No one was dialing up, really, unless you were some
No, and I
engineer somewhere.
Yeah, I made I made the rookie mistake, and a lot of aspiring screenwriters do this, but I fess up, I did it too. I took the script I thought was the best one, and made copies of them, and I put them in envelopes, and I sent them to every agency in town. And one by one, they all came back unopened with a stamp on it that basically said, we cannot accept unsolicited material because it's a legal liability. Right. So all these scripts came back to me. It was like, I was so, it was just, I started to wonder, like, did I make a mistake to move out here? And I was getting little jobs. I worked as a PA on a couple of movies and did some extra work and so forth. And Leanne started to get work as a casting associate. And she worked on some cool shows and some good movies. She worked with Victoria Burrows, who's like one of the biggest casting directors in town. And but we were struggling without a doubt. And I was really starting to wonder, have I made a big mistake here? I might drag my poor wife out here and it's not working. And John was doing great, but he couldn't really help me. There was only so much he could do.
Why do you think he couldn't? Because there's that misconception of like, oh, they won't help me, or you don't want me. Can you dispel how maybe it really works?
I think with John, I think John would have been happy to help, but he had already reached this level up here, and it's kind of hard to bring somebody in at that level. I mean, he was great. I mean, he brought me to the set of another 48 Hours, and I had lunch with Walter Hill and Nick Nolte and everything like that, and it was cool, everything like that. And we did make a movie, a feature-length movie on Super 8 sound that John actually paid for. He gave us like $10,000, I think, and we made an entire movie on Super 8 sound. It's never been released because it's Super 8 sound. You can't get a real release of it. But the script was really good, and I got some good I directed it and got some really good actors to be in it, for free, and John paid for it. He never came to the set. He just gave us the money and go for it, and was happy with it at the end. Although one thing that is funny is that like so often happens with independent horror movies, when the movie was finished and showed it to John, he came back and he said, "You need to do some reshoots. I need more nudity and more blood." And we did. So we did.
So you reshot?
Yeah, we just did some pickup. We shot a whole new title sequence that had a lot of topless women and tarantulas crawling on them. So that was creepy.
In no particular order, yeah.
No, it was just sort of this visionary kind of thing, right?
Well, speaking of independent horror, you were in the 1988 horror film, is it Black Roses?
Black Roses.
And its premise is like this heavy metal band comes to this conservative town and warps all the teenagers' minds.
Yeah.
So you had already experienced something like that where
Oh, sure.
they needed to sort of up the viewability with.
Yeah, exactly. The investors for that movie, and I think maybe even for Rock and Roll Nightmare, one of the other movies we had done up in Canada, came back and it was like, yeah, we need more naked women and more monsters or more gore or whatever, just to pump it up and be able to sell it on a market in the 1980s that was basically, that's what horror movies were.
Sure.
No, they were there. That was the time of the Friday the 13th movies and so forth. So, sex and blood and rock and roll were all things that you needed. Yet it was ticking off the boxes, if you will.
That's why people went to the movies.
Yeah, exactly. But John could only do so much, basically, and I understood that. And I did not expect to come out here and have him hold my hand and give me things for free or whatever. Not for free, that's not what I mean. But he introduced me to Charlton Heston. That was enough for me.
Yeah, that's most people don't get that. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. No, that was a big thrill because I was I still am. I'm glad that John wasn't able to help me that much. Aside from introducing me to some people and so forth, and making that little movie that we called Spider Bite, the Super 8 sound movie, because I think that you have to earn it yourself. I mean, I believe that these days it's a lot easier to sort of work your way into the business because you can buy a credit. You know what I mean? Like you can go to a Kickstarter campaign and they're making a movie, and you can buy a credit. You can buy an associate producer credit or whatever. You know what I mean? And build up your resume that way. We didn't have that. I don't blame anybody for doing that, but I'm saying that we never had that luxury. Everything that we had to do, we had to really do it ourselves, earn it, to work our way up the ladder, if you want to call it the ladder. To achieve what we wanted to achieve.
Do you ever not correct someone, but give them maybe big brother advice on that same mindset? Because I think it even though social media is great because you can speak to so many people, and if you're active in one cause, you might end up tweeting a celebrity or something, or somebody of note that could maybe help you. But there's still that idea where I can still I can access all this and just jump over all the hurdles. Do you ever dispel that myth for people?
Yeah, I do. People don't always listen.
But you do say something.
Yeah, I do. And,
what do you say?
And I've said I'm a friend recently that I said it to. I said, I think these are mistakes. These are your mistakes to make. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you something, and you can listen to me, or you can not listen to me. Whatever, either way, you're gonna make your own mistakes. Basically, is what I meant, and sometimes that's a good thing. It's how you learn.
Sure, but even coming here in 1990, there was no YouTube. You couldn't do a web series. You couldn't do a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Seed and Spark. You had to really have someone endorse you. It was just
Exactly.
a totally different ballgame then.
Oh, sure. And in fact, getting an agent, which has forever been the catch-22. You know, you can't get a movie unless you have an agent, but you know, you can't get an agent unless you've had a movie. You know, that's as old as the hills, and it's still kind of true. The only difference is now because of platforms like YouTube and so forth, where people can show off their creativity, and it's a lot easier to get it seen. And we made that little Spider Bite movie with the hopes that we could show it to, you know, people and get them interested in you know, either the actors or myself as a writer or as a director or whatever. It was something that we could show, and that's, you know, that's all you could do back then, is have something to show. And the trick was, how do you get it to them? And then, like nowadays, put it on your website, put it on YouTube, put it, you know, wherever, and you can just direct people toward it, which is great. I'm not knocking it at all.
No,
I'm just
no,
saying it's
no.
that, you know, back then it was, I sound like an old geezer. Back then we had to walk through 50 miles of snow.
Well, the 90s wasn't that long ago, and in terms of to some technology, I mean, I realized,
fast.
you know, data was the new thing that was coming, you know, it was going to be so great.
And you know, I remember my first computer, which was, you know, I think my first computer was probably right before I moved out here, but then AOL came along, and then all of a sudden now, you know, you're talking to lots of people, not just the ones that you might meet at a party or the kids you grew up with or whatever. Like now, it's huge, and a lot of my friends that I still hold dearly today are people that I met talking about monsters on the internet and comparing notes about like how miserable is it that we can't get anyone to look at our scripts.